All right, welcome back to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. I am Jason Green, bringing you brand new interviews right here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, join, become a member, sign up for Patreon, all those things in the description. I'm excited to welcome Brian Forsythe from Kix back today. If you seen our first interview, you got a good idea about Brian's career and his personal life, and it was one of my favorite interviews, and a lot of people really enjoyed his honesty as well, and a fascinating career. Since that interview, Kix has called it a career. And after 45 years, I think they deserve to go out on top. And their final show certainly showed that. Brian's going to talk to us about how it all went and also what's next for him. All that and more right after this. Just wanna waste some time with you. Sometimes it seems too good to be true. Nobody out there to waste time with you. He is Brian Forsythe. Hey, Brian.
Hey.
I'm glad you're back. As I said, people really enjoyed our first conversation, and a lot of people were inspired about your honesty and about battles with addiction. And there was times in your life where I don't think you knew that you would be finishing out with Kix or finishing anything in this industry.
Yeah. How long ago was that last interview, by the way?
That's a good question. Maybe a year, a little under.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that I knew that Steve had he mentioned to us at one point about a year ago that this was probably going to be the last year for him, but we didn't expect him to cut it off so abruptly. It's in September.
That's what I was wondering. When
Yeah.
do you first find out that you're going to plan for a final show?
Probably. When was that? Earlier, probably in the spring, sometime. But I think it was just a culmination of Jimmy's health problems, and Steve was having some health problems too, and he just couldn't. He didn't want to do it anymore. So
Yeah, it was, well, we talk about Jimmy's health problems. I saw you guys on the cruise, and thankfully Jimmy was there. Wasn't able to play a full set yet, but it was touching to see him there. I try to tell him how happy I was to see him, but sometimes getting the words because he was close to not being alive.
yeah.
Yeah, the guys in your band and your crew knowing probably saved his life, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. If it weren't for them, yeah, he wouldn't have made it. Even though the EMT guys, they were real close by. That the fire station was only 5 minutes away. Luckily, and it was but those guys, while they're waiting for them to show up, kept him alive. Well, brought him back to life, I should say.
Yeah, I mean that's right. I mean for those who are watching who don't know, Jimmy, the drummer for Kix, at one of the shows, he suffered a heart attack. I believe it was right before the last song, towards the end of the night.
Yeah, yeah. It was crazy. I mean, did I tell you about that?
I don't think I don't. I mean, I know the story, but I don't think we talked about it on the show.
Okay. Yeah, because it was Blow My Fuse, and right before that song starts, I get ready to play, and I walk to the drum stage, and I'm facing Jimmy, and I walked over there while Steve announces the song out front, and Jimmy looked like he was bending down to fix. He was like, I thought he was fixing his bass drum pedal or something, because that's just something that he would do occasionally. And Steve goes, hit it, which is the cue for Jimmy to start his drum fill, and then I go into it, and Jimmy just, it didn't come up. He just stayed there, and all of a sudden, I knew something was wrong at that point, and I signaled for a drum tech to come over and check on him, and that's when we discovered, I mean, he was completely gone. And they pulled him up and pulled him off of his drums and started giving him CPR.
Yeah, your bass player Mark is trained. Is he diving? Is that what he does?
Yeah, yeah, diving, and then the guitar tech Brandon is an is trained as an EMT.
Yeah, it's good to have people like that around. You never think these things uh, will happen. I can't tell you how many times I go to these shows and you have a security briefing, and they tell you where the EMT is, and they tell you what to do in the event of an emergency. Most of the time, you take it for granted. You've played so many shows in your life, and then something like this happens. Um, and so he did come back. He had to fill in for a little while, but he did come back. And obviously it was hard to play those long shows. And then, as you've said, Steve also had some trouble. He was saying it was getting harder to sing those songs.
Yeah, yeah, he's been struggling with that. And he also has neuropathy in his feet, so that makes it really difficult.
Mm. Yeah, that I understand. So a lot of these things are happening. You had a health scare yourself while on the road, right?
Yeah, at the end of May, I had I guess it was considered a mini stroke
Mhm.
as a result of carbon monoxide poisoning. And that was weird because my girlfriend was out of town at the time, and for a few days, and I woke up one morning and I just thought I couldn't shake. I thought I was just groggy, and I was disoriented and a little dizzy, and I just thought I couldn't wake up. And I went about my day,
Mhm.
and I even did a podcast that night, and I could barely like get a sentence out. So there was definitely something wrong, but I didn't suspect a stroke. And the guy that I did the podcast with, um, he goes, "You didn't." He texted me later, and he said, "You didn't sound right." He said, "Something's up with you." He goes, "You might want to check into like carbon monoxide." And I never, all that stuff didn't even dawn on me. So I had taken my detector down, my carbon monoxide detector down in the garage because it kept beeping.
Yeah, we do that.
I know. That's what it's supposed to do. But I had gotten a new water heater, and then it started beeping. So I thought, well, it's a new water heater. Like, I don't know what's wrong with this thing. So I took it off the wall and put it in a drawer and took the batteries out of it. And as soon as the guy told me about they thought that I might want to check into carbon monoxide, I went downstairs and put the batteries back in and put it back up. And in the meantime, another day passed, and I was just running around. I was going to the post office and all this stuff. And my girlfriend came back, and she insisted I go to the emergency room because I definitely something was wrong with me. And well, first I went to the urgent care, and they didn't do anything. They thought I had vertigo or something, and they gave me
Right.
pills for that. So then so the day, it was a Friday, I was supposed to fly back for a kick show, and I was all packed, and I got my guitar out. Just it was probably 2 hours before I had to leave for the airport, and to go over the songs because I had gone over the songs the night before, and I noticed I just was struggling, and I thought, well, maybe today it'll be better. And I pulled the guitar out, and there was no way that I could get through. I couldn't play the songs, so I ended up calling Bob, the Ronnie's replacement, and I said, I said, there's something going on with me, and I can't play my guitar. And so he had to fill in for me. and I canceled on that show, and I went to the emergency room, and that's when they checked me in. And at that point, I didn't know. I was thinking carbon monoxide. I had had a tick bite like a month before. I thought maybe it was something to do with the tick bite. I didn't even suspect a stroke, and they did an MRI on me and found out there was this little spot that's what had happened. So from there, I've been slowly getting better, working on playing, and I still haven't come back 100%.
Yeah, I remember hearing hearing a rumor that Brian didn't play, and I thought, what could happen now? You were the one I didn't expect to miss a show. You had a streak, and it is so scary. And you hear stories about things like carbon monoxide that most people assume don't even think about, and don't even think. I hope you have your detector up now.
Oh yeah. Well, it's weird. I had a backup detector in the stairwell coming up from the basement, and I thought for sure, since that one was beeping, that if there was carbon monoxide, the second detector would catch it. And when the fire, well, here's what happened. When I went to the emergency room, and that night, or the next morning, I have these security cameras, and I checked the garage, and from 4 o'clock a.m. on, that thing was beeping. So I immediately called my girlfriend and told her, because I guess she couldn't hear it from the bedroom, but she went and checked it, and she got the fire department to come out. And when they checked out the second detector on the steps and found out the batteries are in backwards. So that wasn't working either.
Wow, no.
But anyway, wait, you originally asked me a question.
Well, I was going to ask you, did you have your detectors up now? And what I wanted to know is, how do we prevent this? So when the fire department came, were they able to detect the problem?
Yeah. In fact, there was high concentrations in the garage, and it just so happens that's where my workout area is. So every morning I'm down there, and I was down there with it. And then on the other side of the door of the garage that leads into the basement is the room where I rehearse, practice go over the set and stuff. And that's another place that it was high concentration. And then they came up the steps, and the up the above, where the basement steps come up, is my couch where I watch TV. And then there's a door that goes into the bedroom. And so all these areas that I hang out in were the highest concentrations.
It's fortunate that your girlfriend and pets weren't affected.
Well, my cat was.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. Sorry.
yeah, she's better now. But about a week before my stroke, she was having seizures, and I was like, what? Like what? We thought she was ODing on catnip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we got her in this new catnip, but it must have been the carbon monoxide.
How scary. But so everybody's doing okay, and you say you're kind of getting back to being okay, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can still, detect a little bit of offness, but mostly in my guitar playing.
Yeah. Brian, what do they do to get rid of carbon monoxide? What do you do in the house? How do you safeguard it?
Well, they found out that new water heater was defective, so they replaced it. So now I got a new water heater, and this one doesn't leak.
Okay, so it was all from that, and you got the detectors up, and now it's okay in the house.
Yeah, even though I can't. kind of walk by the water heater, and I'm like, "Ugh."
Yeah, I'm sure it's scary because you hear the stories. Weird Al, Weird Al Yankovic, his parents died from carbon monoxide
Oh,
poisoning. Yeah, and he was at the home, but they had a problem in the house, and I believe it was both his parents passed away from it. So you hear these things, and you just don't really think about it until it happens to you. And like you said, we all feel a little off, especially as we get older, and you just go, well, maybe I got this, maybe I got that, and you just keep going through your life. Fortunately, you're okay. It was a scary thing though, but this goes back to all the things happening with the guys in Kicks. You guys have been through. I've been through a lot. So earlier this year, at that time when you had the mini stroke, you did know about the final show. It had already been announced, I believe, right?
yeah, because M3. Well, we knew before M3, but that's when Steve announced it.
Right. So, how does he tell you? Is it a group thing? Does he call you individually?
I think it was through emails, and then we did a Zoom thing together because since we're not all together,
Yeah.
and and I remember trying to talk him out of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, because we had Matt Starr while Jimmy wasn't around, and he said he was willing to finish out the year with us. So I thought, oh, that's perfect. But Steve just didn't want to do it. When Jimmy said he was retiring, uh, well, in September, that was the end of it for him. He decided to end it at the same time, and uh, we had shows booked. We had the Monsters Rock cruise booked for next year, and M3, in fact. And I thought maybe those would be the last shows, but they got canceled. And yeah, so it was like, I, you know, I, he could tell I was disappointed, and everybody else. Well, like Mark Shanker, he kind of he was felt the same as I did, and we finally convinced him to at least do one final show in the Baltimore area, because the way it was, we were going to do well. First, Jimmy's mentioned Rocklahoma to be the last show, and then there was one beyond that, Hinckley, Minnesota, and and to go out like out of town to end it out of town just didn't seem right.
Yeah,
But
I think you guys handled it very, very well
yeah,
for
you
your
know,
fans.
yeah, well, yeah, that was a proper way to do it, because at first Steve just wanted just to sneak away. He didn't want to say anything. I'm so glad he didn't do that.
Yeah, it must drive you crazy to think that that could be it. I saw you guys maybe a couple shows back, York, Pennsylvania. Maybe it was the third to last, fourth to last, and uh, and it was so great to see. You guys had the biggest crowd. It didn't matter who else played. Vince Neil. It didn't matter. Everybody wanted to see Kicks. Obviously, that was close to your old stomping grounds, and uh, the East Coast really loves Kicks, and a lot of people scrambled to want to see that last show. You played the Merriweather Pavilion, which is where M3 takes place. Kicks has become a staple of the M3 festival. Usually on the Friday night, the first night, Kicks closes every show, and because Maryland is Kicks country, and so it was fitting that the final show would be there. Could you have thought? I mean, you're popular there, but could you have thought on your own without a festival that you were going to sell it out?
Well, I was hoping, but when you see it, when you see all those people, it's overwhelming. Like just to think and we were headlining and it was our show and those people were there to see us. It's just because usually in a festival situation, you know, you think, wow, these people will be here anyway. But, to be our show and still have that many people was amazing.
A real trip down memory lane. So Steve makes the announcement on stage at M3 that they're going to play one last show. Does your phone just go crazy?
Luckily, I don't give out my phone number, but Messenger did, and yeah, we were getting all kinds of messages.
Everybody wanted to be part of it, and that's the hard thing about planning something like this. Obviously, you want to do best by the fans. You want to put on a good show, but there's an emotional part of it too. And what I'm a huge fan of the Ramones. They played their final show in California, which wasn't very fitting. New York band ending in California. They say at the end of the show, they all just went away. They didn't really even say goodbye. Everybody just sort of left, and that was the end of it, never to see each other again in some of their cases. So you guys looked very cool, and it looked like, hey, we just played our gig and it's over. But was it emotional for you? It had to be.
A little bit. I don't know. I think maybe it hasn't hit me yet still, but it only got emotional like when he was introducing everybody, and I don't know why it affected me the most, but when he introduced Brandon, our guitar tech, that was emotional. I had to turn away from the crowd.
I could imagine. So we're talking about people who were involved, and I thought it was really cool that Brad Divins was there from the Cool Kids record. I think a treat for the fans, and certainly a rare person to see in the Kix world these days. And then, of course, Ronnie Yankins, who was on the show to talk about his doing it. He was so excited. He's battled with his sobriety. He's also very candid and honest about it. And I think it made the fans, you can tell by the reaction when he was on stage, people were so excited to see him and to see both of you, playing together again. I think maybe myself and others wanted to see more of him. Was there decision to keep it short, or what was going through your mind on that one?
Yeah, I guess we didn't want to shortchange Bob either, because he's helped us out so much. And I don't know. We didn't really discuss how many songs he was going to do, but I don't know. He seemed okay with it, but I think bringing him out for the first two, just right off the bat, was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. There was no introduction. He was just there, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if we could have done it differently, I guess, but that's the way it turned out.
Atomic Bomb and The Kid were the first two songs of the set, and I think Ronnie would be considered the Kid, so I think people were excited to see him on stage. And like you said, it was sort of a surprise, but how did it feel to you? Because you hadn't been on stage with Ronnie in quite some time.
It felt like he had never left.
That's great. Yeah, it's great to have that feeling. You guys have. It's been a roller coaster for Kix and for all of your involvements, and the band had been broken up before, and you had to decide to get back together, and you had to decide who not to get back together. Obviously, Donnie Purnell was not invited. You guys, you were very honest about how all of you have been about when you did the reunion, it would be under the circumstance that he not be there. Did anyone hear from him at all?
No.
Yeah.
He's like he's the mysterious guy. We don't hear from him.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he was invited. He shows up anyway. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I don't think he would.
I think you're happier going out with the guys that you spent the last several years, more than that. It's been a long time since Kix got back together. So I think you want to go out on happy terms. So was there anything that you regret that you didn't get to do at that show, that you didn't, any songs that you wish you could have played? You did a lot.
Well, there were, I mean, we have so many songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were a lot that, you know, I wondered why we didn't do certain ones, like Saint Jane would have been fun. There was a bunch of them. Saint
I have
Jane.
the set here on the screen.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of old songs on there. And since having that stroke, I was telling my girlfriend that the old songs are harder to play. They're harder than the new ones, just because they're almost more, they're frantic. There's like all these in betweens, and they're fast, and they're just awkward. They don't have a groove, as much of groove as the newer songs.
And some of these you haven't played in a while.
Yeah.
Like you said,
like a Time of Bombs, we haven't played that since we haven't played it since Ronnie's been out of the band.
Yeah. Now you're opening with it again at a sold out show. So was there anything you had to convince anybody to do? Was there stuff you said, come on, Steve, you got to do that one? Or
oh, nah, because we kind of left the set list up to him, because he has to sing, you know.
Right.
So we just went with whatever he came up with. And Jimmy put those medleys together.
Right. You did. I think it was 3 medleys, right?
Yeah. Him and Bob worked on those, and then we all learned them. We never rehearsed.
Well, you're in different states. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are spread out. Well, one of the things that I heard the guys talking about, and I noticed as well, is that when Jimmy wasn't there, the dynamic changes a little bit as far as his singing goes. And there was some concern about when he came back being healthy enough to sing it. And so Bob would take some of those parts as well. And there was a few different dynamics to the show. And as you could see, that it was becoming a little bit of a different thing. And that you still, even though Steve may have been struggling and maybe in pain, it seems like, you know, you're one of the few bands that went out when you still could have kept going. Obviously, you talked about shows you turned down. Kix was in demand. Kix was a favorite. Obviously, them 3, but the cruises and other festivals as well. Kix was always in demand. So you did go out on top. A lot of people said online, this is a gimmick, and Kix will be back. And this is just one of those things. You'll see Kix in a year or two. What do you say to that?
No. Yeah, Steve doesn't want to deal with it anymore. He's done.
He's selling everything. The stage clothes and his microphones, and a lot of people did that when bands, when they retired, said that's it. It can all. I don't need it anymore.
Yeah. Well, you know, Steve, it takes a lot for him to prepare for a show, and not only, you know, an hour before the show, but you know, the weeks heading up to it. So he just, I don't know, he doesn't want to go through that anymore. And well, the good thing about the way that he did it was, you know, even though he is struggling with his vocals and stuff, you really can't notice unless you analyze it. So for him to stop before it got noticeable, that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah. Do you know what he's going to do now? What he wants to do?
Well, he's officially retired. I'm not. But
I know you're not. When I heard the announcement, you know, I said, well, Brian's not done, and I think some of the other guys are going to work as well. But so is Steve going to just sort of take it easy and live off the land? Is that what he wants to do?
Yeah, I guess he's going to hang out at his pool and drink beer. I don't know what else he does, but
Yeah, it sounds like a nice retirement for him. Now, and we're going to get into what you're going to do next, also. But so I want to talk a little bit more about the show. You guys had a great stage show, and you had graphics and pyro. You really this was an arena show for Kicks, and you really made it a visual thing and giving fans a fun time. And I know for the fans watching, it was an emotional thing too. So when the show ends, what happens? Does everyone have a formal goodbye?
Yeah, well, there was obviously there was a bunch of people backstage, and so we just hung out and talked and forever, and then finally we head back over to the hotel, and we were supposed to our I guess is our agent arranged to have a private party back at the hotel, but somehow the communications got screwed up and they reserved the room the night before. So we get back there and the place is mobbed with people. And I mean, a couple of the guys still hung out a little bit, but I I made my way through the crowd and got my stuff on the elevator and took it up to my room. And then I decided, I don't want to go back down there.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, and you're a quiet person. Brian, I've seen you at these shows so many times, and I go, I don't think Brian's very nice or sociable. And then when I talk to you, I realize you're just a quiet person who does your own thing. Yeah, and after a
yeah,
show like that, you probably rather do your own thing.
yeah, and that many people, there was already, I already dealt with that backstage with a bunch of people, which wasn't bad because there are people I haven't seen for a while, but after a while it just drains me, and I just have nothing left, and I have to get away and just to recharge.
Yeah, understandable. So you live in Nashville now. What did you do after you? So you went to Maryland to play the show. What by the way, I gotta say, I feel like we got to find that 7-Eleven that you guys sort of. I say it's the 7-Eleven that formed Kicks. I think there should be a plaque there now that you guys have called it a day. I mentioned it to Ronnie as well. This what town was it in?
Frederick.
Okay, yeah. So
It was just right along Route 40 there where the mall and everything is.
to me, that's the 7-Eleven that starts Kicks. So for Kicks fans, go there and make your pilgrimage. But so the show ends. What did you do the next day?
Well, I stayed an extra day because my brothers were in town. They all live out in California. My brothers came to the show, and we all met up at my sister's house, and we had my parents' ashes that we had. Well, my mother died like when was it? A year ago or more than a year ago, and my father died in 2012. So we were hanging on to their ashes, and we decided since we were all together, we'd take that opportunity to go out and spread their ashes. So we went out in the
Yeah.
woods to the falls and dumped them in the creek.
Mhm. Yeah, it sounds like a beautiful thing to do, and to have your family. It sounds like a lot of closure in that little weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of cool how that all happened at the same time.
Yeah, it definitely works out. And maybe it was nice that you had family and you had something important to do to keep you from sitting and dwelling on Kicks and maybe answering messages about Kicks as well.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you live in the moment. You're not. Yeah, you're on to the next thing. And so we should talk about that. Ronnie's still. He's playing guitar. He's got a band. He's playing again. So I think he's going to be out there. What about Jimmy?
Nah, Jimmy. Well, I don't know. Jimmy probably do little special projects here and there because Brad's got a really nice studio at his house up near Hagerstown. So I could see Jimmy getting together with Brad here and there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's not going to tour or join a new band. That's
No.
not for him. But it's nice that he'll still do active music. Now you're a member of Rhino Bucket as well, and you've performed on these cruises and a lot of these same bills as Kix. You performed with Rhino Bucket, so obviously that's going to continue, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to keep doing it. The thing with Rhino Bucket is we don't have many gigs. so, so it's few and far between, but yeah, I'm available now. It's like that's it. But that's not, that won't be it.
Yeah, you're not done playing, and you've stayed in shape. You look younger than most people half your age. So why stop now? Your guitar playing obviously is still great. I mean, you had a little setback, but obviously things are getting better. What do you want to do? Are you looking for a new project? What are the things you're thinking about?
I'm not really thinking about it. Well, right now I'm sort of slowly working on my guitar playing, just pra- finger picking and just doing stuff to try to get back up to speed. So, I don't want to jump into something too soon and screw it up.
Sure.
but there are people, there's a lot of musicians around that I'd love to play with. And yeah, so maybe sometime, I don't know, later this year or early next year, I'll get together with people, start throwing ideas around.
Yeah, and it could be something you might have a lot of fun doing something new with and probably people that you've known and peers. It's funny how these things happen. I mean, as you said, you're going to be available, and you're still playing, and there'll be a lot of interest. I would have to think Rhino Bucket would be a big draw at M3 now. You're going to be the active Kix member this year.
True. I know. But we haven't
You-
even, we're trying to get our Sullivan big. We're trying to get him involved, maybe a little to help us out. So,
Yeah, I'm sure he would. I got to talk to him today. I'll mention it, but
okay.
yeah, but no, I mean it would make sense. Your history in Maryland obviously goes a long way. People will not get to see Kix, and as we were talking about earlier, when people were posting, "Oh, they'll get back together," I said, "I can tell you, this is one band that's not doing that. He's not doing this. I don't even think with some of the bands like Twisted Sister and things, they will get back together for one-off events. I don't think Steve would even do that at this point, from what it sounds like.
No, I don't think so either.
It sounds like if you want to see him, you better bring beer to his pool.
Yeah.
That might be that might be it. So it's interesting. I felt bad hitting you up so close to it being over, but it's topical, and these feelings that you have now, maybe you won't have you'll think about it differently, in 6 months or so, because you just sort of went through this whirlwind thing. When Kix broke up the first time, obviously there was no farewell, or happy ending, right?
Right. Well, I left
Right.
a couple
You were
of years.
gone before it ended, yeah.
Yeah. So I was the beginning of the end. And then when they finally ended it, it was kind of there was tension between Steve and Donnie. So that kind of blew up, and that's why they just went, I'll see you later.
Yeah. It's like a our favorite TV shows. Sometimes they didn't have a final episode. Sometimes it got canceled or just didn't happen, and you didn't get a chance to say goodbye. So it is great that you guys had it. Was that show in Maryland? Was it recorded?
Well, they have the house recording, but we didn't do an official recording. But the thing is, when it comes to stuff like that, there's licensing involved, and it's considered a movie and a soundtrack, and we'd have to run it through Donnie to get the rights to it.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, it's an interesting thing that I wouldn't have thought about, but yeah, I guess it's a whole different thing. I know that that night, so many fans were tuned into their social media, Facebook or whoever was streaming. And, every phone in that place, with people trying to get a glimpse and give live updates. It was like watching, back in the day, a boxing match, round by round. People wanted to see what Kix is going to do, and I know people who were there from all accounts. It was really a great night.
Yeah, overall it was.
The rain held up just enough for you too, right?
Yeah, some of the lawn people got wet.
Part of the experience. You wanted to be there at the last chance. You can get a little wet. Brian, do you? What's the best place people can check you out? I know you have a website. Is it active?
And not really. It's up, but I haven't. I'm just technically challenged when it comes to stuff like that.
We got to find you somebody. Yeah.
Facebook is hard enough, but I had somebody redo my website. I don't even know how long ago it was now, and then I had gotten used to updating it a certain way, and then they changed the format, and I just never figured it out. So I just let it sit.
Yeah, the older we get, you learn something, and that's it. It should just stay like that. We don't need to. We don't need updates. Yeah, but anyway, but that would be something good, and people can follow your Facebook as well. But we got to. So Brian, we got to find you a good web guy so people can stay up and buy some merchandise and all those things. And we got to make sure you put your batteries in your detectors right.
Yeah,
we don't want to worry about you. Your girlfriend is probably going to take charge of that now.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I'm just so glad nothing happened to her like that the night after I was in the hospital and the thing was going off. She said she woke up and she did feel a little out of it, but nothing serious.
Yeah, well, and that's fortunate. So Brian, thank you so much for doing this and chatting. It's great to see you, and it's great to talk about Kix. The music is going to live forever. I say it all the time. You can go on Spotify right now or wherever and listen to Kix. You'll have those records and those songs forever, and new people will discover them constantly. You must be surprised how many young people were at that final show.
Yeah, it was just a mix of everybody. I mean, it's crazy. Because people my age are now grandparents.
Crazy, yeah. Yeah, it's a good point that there's probably 3 generations of Kix fans who were at that show and sharing something that was important to them to pass down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Brian, I look forward to seeing you. I know that you're going to have something good ahead, so I'm looking forward to hearing more music from you, and it'll give you a chance to do something different as well. And of course, Rhino Bucket.
Yeah, and I've learned from past experience that when something ends, that like you think something is terrible, like a situation, it always turns out to be the best thing that ever happened. That like the Kix ending isn't a bad thing. It'll lead to something even bigger.
Yeah, I think that is a great attitude to have. That there's going to be new great memories to have in your life. Your career is just still going. Nothing's going to change. You're going to keep playing. So thank you so much, Brian. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And thank you to everyone for watching. And we will